we do the same thing with looking at people on the street that we do when we see photographs. And what happens is when we look at that, we relate to it in the exact same way. So we have an empathetic response. So if you look at a photograph and somebody's smiling and they're happy, you're happy with them because it's an empathetic response. You're being happy with them.
As someone joining me today that proves that photography is much more about just the picture. So John's award-winning portrait and headshot photographer. And I met John through the Headshot Crew. I believe John's been trained by Peter Hurley, if that's correct. Yeah. And he's been doing this for more than 15 years. He's running John Murray Headshots. So important moniker, because if you walk around Ireland and you say, I know John Murray, someone might say, oh, you mean John Murray Headshots? Which has actually happened to me personally. He's helping everyone from entrepreneurs to cancer survivors to reconnect with their authentic image. His mission is very powerful. It's to teach positive self-image through photography, bridging the gap between how we see ourselves and how we think the world sees us. We're not just talking headshots today. He's using his lens to explore confidence, mindset, and wellness through his work with Pep Talk, Ireland Together, and countless media appearances. John has become an advocate of what he calls substance over superficial, using photography as a tool for self-acceptance, leadership, branding, and personal growth. So I'm really excited to have John Murray with me today and the psychology behind self-image and why a simple photograph can transform the way you show up in life. Thank you, John, for being here on my podcast show called Vibe Your Vibe. So this is about finding people that have really just dove into who they are and is just super passionate about that and finding out more about John and what drives you.
Thanks for having me.
And well, you're just a wonderful human.
Thanks very much.
I
grew it all
excited
myself.
for you to be sharing yourself. What's that?
I grew it all myself.
You grew it all yourself. Headshot photography has helped me understand is that everybody's wearing a mask, right? And as a headshot photographer is trying to, I think really, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's trying to get folks to unmask themselves. I'm actually still working on this whole process myself, right? Attach these labels to ourselves. You know, you ask somebody, how do you describe yourself? And I think a lot of us probably tend to start with what we do as a career and how we earn money. And I don't know that that's really, it's just a mask you wear.
100%. I get that a lot. I'll be standing in front of a whole room full of people and I say, who are you to the first person I see? And they're like, I'm the CEO or the director of finance, or they kind of give you what they do. And you're like, that's not who you are. Right. At the end of some of my talks, I actually stand there and I will list all of the different labels that I have in life. You know, I'm a husband and a son, and I'm a sea kayaker and a photographer, and I'm all these different things. But like, who am I? I'm something completely different, you know, to everybody in the company, the finance director. But, you know, who are you outside of that? You know, who are you internally? What is it that you like to do? What makes you laugh? You know, do you have a filthy sense of humor? Do you have a really dark sense of humor? What do you like? Who is it that you are? Like, and people help people to explore that and to lift the mask up.
Oh, I forgot to mention, John's actually quite a historian too, and a bit of a comedian.
I have problems. You don't know where you're going until you know where you've come from. So you have to know about it's nice to know about your past, you know, and know where that comes from.
So that might be something. Does a lot of people know about your fascination with history?
Anybody that walks into the studio and sees the huge map outside the door of Dublin in 840 and 1540. Yeah, I think some people do. I don't think a huge amount of people do. More people would know that I'm an obsessive sea kayaker.
That's what you post online.
My headshot, I have two Instagram pages, two of them. Oru Paddler is the kayaking one. And then the other one is my headshot one.
Oh, I didn't know you have a separate one. Yeah. So again, what is the separate kayaker page?
Oru Paddler. So ORU PADDLER. And I started it to share my kayaking content. And then should we go on to my head?
Specifically, so you can focus on that for that one page.
Yeah, but let's face it. I'm a disaster when it comes to social media. I just post everything in the same place and just hope for the best. And then everybody who walks into the studio who've been on my headshots page on Instagram or whatever, or on LinkedIn, like, oh, I saw you were kayaking at the weekend around Rathlin Island, or you did this or you did that. And, you know, it looks amazing. And you spend so much when you're rolling the kayaks and stuff. It's crazy. You know, it makes me really nervous looking at your videos, and they're walking into the studio for headshots, but it's part of me is the fact that I'm obsessed by the sea. My surname actually means the mariner. The Irish for
really?
Yeah, the Irish name for Murray is O'Wira, so it's of the sea, or the mariner or the sailor. It's literally within my soul and within my genetics to want to be on the sea. I grew up next to the sea. I used to flood my granny's kitchen every chance I got. I was in the window and turning the taps on, obsessed by playing with water. And it's not even lakes or.
But the kayaking, this is fairly new, right? Though,
no,
or has this been a long thing that you just haven't put it out there publicly?
A good 8 years, maybe.
Okay, so you haven't quite hit a decade. So I'd consider that fairly new.
Oh, it's new enough. Yeah, I did it when I was really young, and in the Sea Scouts and stuff. Like, we used to do different things as kids. We'd go.
Oh, you were in the Sea Scouts?
Way back, and not for very long because I found girls not long afterwards. But it's priority.
Yeah, that's what they actually say. What is this thing? So is this the same Scouts like from Baden-Powell Scouts?
No, that's a different thing. So that's Baden-Powell is here as well. But it's the Sea Scouts are a different thing, so it's different.
Okay, because here in the U.S., the Sea Scouts is related to the Baden-Powell Scouts.
I'm sure
it's all part of the same
organization.
Sure
there's a connection there, But we were first port Sea Scouts in Ringsend was the kind of Sea Scouts, and I went once or twice. I went a couple of times, but we went and. You got brought out in kayaks and boats and different things, and you kind of learned to tie knots and do different things. But it was, I didn't do it for very long, but I kind of dabbled in and out, and then I just always
the G&G got you, the gas and the girls.
That's exactly it, But it was just, there was all sorts. We'd all got so many different things going on growing up. I was hanging out with my friends. I was rollerblading. I was just going off wandering into Dublin City because I lived very close to the city centre, just looking at girls with all of my friends and playing basketball through school and different things. So there was a lot of different things I did karate and stuff as well. You can only do so much. Don't want to be a 10-year-old child completely burnt out because you've got too many hobbies. Like, I can't do my homework today. I just can't. I can't be coping. No, I've got enough on my plate. I have karate and I have girls and I have basketball and I have, all these different things to be doing. I need to prioritize my energy, Mom. I can't be doing homework today. We'll see what the teacher says in the morning. I cross that bridge when I come to it. That's some negotiation skills right there. But no, it was just, I had a lot on, and it was always around us. My dad's side of the family, my dad's great granddad was a lighthouse keeper in Poolbeg Lighthouse. You can go and Google Poolbeg Lighthouse. It's the red one as you come into Dublin by ferry. Way back, like 1912. So my dad's great granddad or great granddad, it was one of the dailies. So he was a lighthouse keeper down there, a principal lighthouse keeper. And we used to go down there as kids and we'd fish off the lighthouse. So we'd go down to the end of the pier and stand there and fish. Now, we never really caught anything that much, but we used to come home with fish, and my dad would say, when you come in, just say, look what I got. It sounds like caught. Look what I got. It's always a success, even if you bought them off somebody. And it was crazy. No health and safety. There was a ledge. And when I say a ledge, I'm talking like 3 inches of a ledge that ran around that lighthouse that we used to stand on. And I'd be walking around it with my tiny little feet. And you got like spring tides and water like whapping up against the wall. And you'd be kind of walking around the edge of the ledge. My dad couldn't see me. I'd go around to his friend around the far side who was standing on a slightly wider piece of ledge. And then I'd come back around to my dad because I was bored. But I couldn't go anywhere because we were trapped by the sea on this wall. And they'd be fishing, trying to catch mackerel and whatever else they could catch. But it was, I think you call them over in the States, it's tiger mullet or tiger striped mullet or something.
Yeah, or a mullet.
We have mullet here as well. Yeah. Mullet's a really dirty fish. They kind of filter the water to go through it.
Usually we catch them and use them as bait.
Yeah. I know there's mackerel are a different type of fish, but they have kind of tiger striped gills. I know there's a different name for them. We used to catch them, or we go down and get them. We'd always arrive home with some. Somebody would have caught some somewhere, and we'd have brought them back. And as about 10 or 11 years of age, my dad would leave me in the kitchen. Off you go, and leave me to gut and clean the fish, and then don't cut your fingers. And then we'd fry them on the frying pan and then throw lots of vinegar over the top of them, and they were absolutely gorgeous. I still love it now. My neighbour across the road, when I go up to Hote, the fishing village up the road, I go in, and if I'm buying fish inside in one of the shops, Kish, I'll always take mackerel as well, separately in a different bag.
Okay.
And then I knock on his door and I just hand it to him because he told me once that they were trying to get his kids to eat fish years ago when they were small. I think one of the girls is I think she's 17 or nearly 18 now. And the other one is not far behind her. But when they were small, they were in his brother-in-law's house. And they were trying to get the kids to try the fish. So they told the kids it was chocolate fish. Of course, they tried it and they loved it. And now I've knocked on that door and I'm talking months ago. And the two girls are like pretty much grown up now. And I'd hand in the bag, or be in the kitchen and the girls are like, oh my God, chocolate fish. Like, it's the little things. But that's, you know what? That kind of ties back to what we were just saying. It's about what's under the skin. That's what makes you you. That's what makes them them, and it's that is something that's connected to them and it will always be connected to them. The chocolate fish thing and the fact
that little story, that's amazing.
And the fact that their dad gave them that and told them it was chocolate fish and they loved it. And not because they thought it was chocolate, but they actually just liked it. And it will be something that they'll carry with them through life. The Irish language in Ireland, there's literally a line in the song, raised on songs and stories and heroes of renown. But we are raised on songs and stories. That's what is within us in Ireland. So we're all storytellers. It's because of the way our language was passed from person to person. It was
some better than others.
Yeah, it was never written down.
You're the better.
Our language was never written down. It was always passed through stories. We have people here called Shanachis.
Well, that's a human condition, right? I mean, before we had written word, it was all stories.
That's exactly it.
So this is millennia building up to this.
Yeah, and we had it until the 1700s. It was still the way things were done here in the 1700s because the only people that were here that could write were the British or the church. The Irish people themselves in West Ireland,
and when you say that, is that by law
or
decree or by skill and knowledge or
when the British come over here?
I just want to get clarity for myself. It wasn't written because they didn't know how, or they weren't allowed, or both.
They didn't know how. There wasn't a way of writing. The Irish language was we had an ancient script here called Om. And when you see it, it's just marks on a wall, on the edge of a pillar. And they just scratched these lines in and it was very basic. There's only a couple of letters in it. And that was just the way they wrote. And then the Irish language was developed, but a lot of we wouldn't have really had scripture in Irish. The people who would have wrote would have been monks or educated British people who come over here and they had learned to write, but they came to visit and never went home for 800 years. But they basically took a lot of land here. They basically took over the whole country and went, this is now ours. You'd have to delve deep into what happened in the famine and how that happened. But it was a bit of a thing. And a lot of the Irish.
Yeah, I found out there's a pretty big passion there.
Yeah.
About that. I found out my very first day. I learned very carefully that I misspoke.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah,
most of the food that was being produced in Ireland, there was enough food in Ireland to feed the Irish people 4 times over. But Irish people were given a small plot of land, a tiny plot of land with enough ground beside it to grow a crop. Potatoes was usually it. It was pretty much all it was. And Irish people were...
And it's very rocky, based on my memory as well.
Especially over the west.
It's a difficult crop probably to grow.
Yeah. I think Oliver Cromwell said to hell or to Connacht. So they sent the Irish people over to the west of Ireland where it's very rocky because the ground over there was very fertile, but it was full of rocks and you couldn't farm it. So they basically went, this is the lovely east side of the country and the south and the middle, and we'll take all of this. But you can go over there, it's full of rocks and you can't eat rocks. So
I guess kind of like the colonial Americans said to the native tribes, you can go out west.
Yeah.
There's lots of land out there.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing as
kind of idea.
They didn't have very far to walk in Ireland.
I had no idea. But there's so much to learn about your history. Wow.
There's a lot, but the famine happened because they were eating a type of potato called the Irish lumper. They predominantly ate that, and it's all their eggs are in the one basket. Once one strain of one disease gets into one potato, it goes through the rest of them like wildfire. So it happened in the 40s.
Was that what was that exactly? Was it a fungus?
It was it was a blight on the potatoes. So what happened was
a blight.
Yeah,
and a blight is a fungus.
yeah. So they basically got this infection, and the potatoes all died. And Irish people, the native Irish people that spoke our language, told our stories. They were eating 5 kilos of potatoes a day. That's like 3 pounds of potatoes a day. They're highly nutritious. There's a lot of nutrition in them, and they were eating about 5 kilos a day. No, not the way we eat them now. You know, that have been fairly just boiled and then eaten. They didn't have a whole lot else going on. When it happened, initially the British government were sympathetic to what was happening. They gave allowances to the landlords who owned the land, who had taken the land off the Irish people, but gave them an allowance to give jobs to the Irish people because they didn't have any food, so they could go and get food. And then what happened was basically change government in the UK, and the new guy wasn't as forgiving.
Sympathetic.
Yeah, there's a guy named Trevelyan, and he wasn't as sympathetic. And he basically had this idea. There was an economist that had come out and basically said that if there's too much food, the population grows. And when there's not enough food and there's famine, that's God's way of saying, right, time to plateau the population and bring it back to a manageable level because the land can't take it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the starvation of the Irish people was God's way of saying, get rid of them. You know, they're no good. They're savages and the whole lot. So he just basically cut off any relief that was coming back over here. There was things like the place in County Meath called Nobber. It was called on Ubber. The work, that's the Irish word for work, is Ubber. And what they had said was that if you wanted work, you went to this place. So when you wanted work, you went to Nobber or to on Ubber, the work. And then there's a guy named O'Sullivan that anglicised the map here. And he basically went through the map and went, that kind of looks like this. We're just going to call it that. On Ubber looks like Nobber. So we'll just make this word up and call it that. County Louth up towards the Northern Irish border. On Lou, they just call that Louth because it was what it was. Dublin has 2 names, Ballyauchaclia, the town of the fjord or the town of the Ford of Hurdles, where there was a wicker mat that crossed the estuary that is now the River Liffey for people to cross, and they cross that twice a day at low tide. But there was another name for Dublin named after this. I brought you there to Dublin Castle, and there was the big grass area, and that's where Dublin gets. Dublin is the black pool where the 2 rivers met. And then he anglicised it, went Dublin, that'll do. And there was a lot of different things like that they just named it whatever it kind of sounded like. And then some of them didn't make any sense.
And they never like regressed back to the original?
Well, all of our street signs and all of our mapping here has the Irish name and the English name as well, the anglicised name as well.
Oh,
the Irish name still describes exactly what that place was. County Derry.
Is it have the Ireland government made that the prominent name though? Kind of like they've done in Quebec, right? Quebec is everything is French.
Yeah.
And there's actually language laws out there. Like if you go to a restaurant in Montreal, if you put English above and larger than the French, like they literally can slap a fine on you and make you redo the menu.
No, it's
I'm curious if they've gone that far. Or
it's not that far.
You feel like it probably needs to be so you don't lose it altogether?
Everything is pretty much in English, but we have like signs and stuff like that. Anything that's official, buses, timetables, all that sort of stuff has the Irish and the English. All street signs have Irish and English on it. The Irish is on top, and then the English is underneath it, so the anglicised version.
Oh, so the Irish is on top. I guess I missed that. For
yeah.
some reason.
It's written on top of all the street signs, all the motorway signs, everything pretty much has it. Irish on top, and then the anglicised version underneath. I think the motorway signs, it's the opposite way around. So it'll be the English and then the Irish version underneath it as well. But the Irish language just describes what places are. County Derry, Ondira, and this means the oak forest. You know, it's all of these things mean what they do what they say. They basically say.
I somehow missed all that when I was there. Maybe I have to get back and pay better attention.
Yeah.
But I was just so enamored by the beauty of the country. Is just
wasn't looking at the sign. Too much green stuff here.
Looking at the signs. Yeah. Looking at the window of the car.
Yeah. But it's really cool. It is that we have that, and that we have such a connection to the land through the language. because we can tell what was there all those years ago. There's two guys actually, John Creedon, I have his book somewhere. He has a book and a TV series here called That Place We Call Home. And he basically goes through and he has a little notepad and he's writing down, he's talking to the local people about fields that they're in and about different things that are in the area and why it's called this. So why that town is called that, or why even Hote. I don't know if you went to Hote, fishing village on the north side of Dublin, County Dublin.
No, we started in Dublin and then went south and around the top.
Yeah.
And we were rushing from Giant's Causeway to get to meet you.
Yeah.
And so that's like a 6-hour drive. So we were cracking it pretty hard to get to Dublin.
But all of those places all have their name, but their name means exactly what it was for.
Okay. And then what's the reference for Muff?
From where? From Muff and Donegal?
Muff. We did make it through there, and we went through and got a couple of magnets.
Yeah. My friend is a barber in Muff, the Muff Barbers. And, if you read into it a little bit too much, it means that she cuts hair in a very different part of people's bodies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But there's a lot of places in Ireland that have kind of funny names like that. That's the Anglo-side.
Just so everybody knows, I would never have known about that except for John.
Yeah, I have issues.
You don't have issues. A lot of fun. It was fun driving through. I mean, a special trip. You're like, oh, you're going to go there. You're going to be close to there. You should go by there. And we did.
Donegal is amazing, and Donegal is an amazing county. And actually the North Antrim coast where the Giant's Causeway is, I was up there kayaking only a few weeks ago with some friends. I've been up to it a couple of times. It's the nearest point between Ireland and Scotland. It's only 20 something kilometers, 22, 23 kilometers.
Oh, really? You could literally kayak over to Scotland.
Oh, yeah. I know plenty of people who do. They'll go over and come back. But there's one point where a friend of mine, a guy that I know, Dave Horkin, he has the record for everything. Like going around Vancouver Island, not going around Ireland. He got beaten going around Ireland. But he did the whole of Ireland in 22 days. I think the record is 23 or 21.
Did he ever leave the kayak, or he stayed on the kayak,
well,
or he just paddled?
They get off and sleep on beaches and then get back on again. But they did 6 hours in one direction, get off, have some food, sleep really quickly. When the tide turns again, a few hours later, they're back on the kayak and they're gone. And then we're doing 100.
So it's all basically driven by the tide schedule and how the tides are running.
Yeah. And they're doing 100 kilometers a day, 115 kilometers a day
on a kayak,
60 miles.
I want to say that's very 60 miles. That's or like 62 point or 61 point something. Well, 60 miles. But that I want to say that's really far. Like that's far on a bike, but a bike is one thing. A kayak is a whole nother.
That's crazy distance. He has the record. Ireland.
How would you equate that to folks that don't kayak? Like, how far would that? Like, do you bicycle at all?
Not really, no. But
no, not really.
I have friends who do cycle.
That would be probably more like doing 100 or 150 miles, which would be like doing maybe 200 kilometers or further on a bicycle. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like beyond marathon distance if you are running.
Yeah.
To do 100 kilometers on a kayak.
It's
a crazy amount of effort.
2 marathons, and you're doing it with pretty much your upper body.
Right.
Yeah, it's like doing
it's like crazy difficult.
2 marathons in a wheelchair.
Right. Like about, would you know, like as another comparison, maybe like how many calories do you think you would burn to do 100 kilometers?
It's about 1,000 calories an hour.
And how many hours?
Anywhere. Like some friends of mine only did around Ireland, and on one of the guys, Richie, on his birthday, they crossed Donegal Bay and they were 10 and a half hours on the water.
For 100 kilometers.
Yeah. What did they do? They 60, I think, that day.
60 kilometers. So they burned 10,000 calories.
Yeah.
To do 60 kilometers, which was not, you're still just over halfway to 100. And these guys are doing 100 kilometers daily.
Yeah.
Daily.
We say for our kayak trips.
That's an incredible feat.
Oh, it's amazing.
You're blowing me away with that. That's crazy.
We did, Rathlin Island is between Ireland and Scotland. We did that twice over the last while, myself and one of the guys, Rob. And the first day that we went out, I'm actually looking at the charts for it here. They're on the floor. But we plan everything to the second. It's written everywhere on it. But we went out fogbound. It was by the time we finished, we had done 46.3 kilometers, which is a marathon. It's just over a marathon.
And what do you and how do you manage your calorie? Like, I'm guessing, are you eating along the entire way, or do you load up before you go?
Ate before we left. we got across to the island and we were fog bound going to the island, and it's the fastest tidal stream in Ireland because it's the narrowest point between Ireland and Scotland.
Can you explain? I understand that, but for my listeners, can you maybe explain what that means? Because it's an incredible situation that you can have, like, maybe, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 meters of water difference in a short amount of time.
Yeah. So
am I understanding what you're saying correctly?
Yeah. So the tide on coastal places, the tide comes in, tide goes out. So the tide moves, the water level rises and the water level drops. A weird fact is that the tide doesn't actually come in and out. We move into the water. So because of the moon, the gravitation, the water is there and the water is a constant. So the pull that the water has from the magnetic pull of the moon, it basically is an oval shape, like a rugby ball or an American football, and the Earth is in the middle of it spinning. So sometimes we are further up to the top where the strings are, where the threads are. And sometimes we're actually...
That's crazy. I mean, I'm totally getting what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you're literally... The water's more constant. The actual physical land is moving.
That's it. Yeah, we move into it.
Into the water.
Yeah. So sometimes the water level is higher and sometimes it's lower. Here where we are, like in Dublin, the tidal difference, so the high tide will be, say, 3.5 meters. Mostly average. Sometimes it can be above 4 meters. And then low water is usually around 0.8 meters, maybe around the 1 meter mark. So the tidal difference is around 2 meters, 2.5, maybe maximum of 2 meters.
It's not much.
Yeah. Just slightly over 2 meters.
That's kind of how it is here in Florida.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 meter difference, 2 meters at the most.
We go further south down to Wicklow, just literally like an hour south of Dublin. Right there, the tidal difference is 0.5 meter. And then if we go across to Wales, directly across from Ireland, the tidal difference can be 8.5 meters at the same time.
Right.
So it just depends on how.
At the same time.
Yeah.
8.5 meters.
And we're talking,
so for folks out there on the imperial system, that's going to be real close to like 25 feet.
Yeah. So, and
that's an incredible difference.
That's like 150 kilometers away from Dublin. So like probably 120 miles straight across the sea, like the same line of latitude, all that sort of stuff. It's literally just straight across, but the tidal difference can be so big and so different in different places. And what happens as well is that the whole Irish Sea, I don't have it directly on the map, but basically the whole Irish Sea is one pretty much consistent distance apart, Ireland to the UK. But when you get up and the water is trying to turn between Ireland and Scotland, what happens is it's squished. So instead of like emptying a bathtub and it all just falls out, it's like you've connected all that water to a fire hose and it's being forced through. So the tidal stream that runs up the east coast of Ireland is the average would probably be about 2 knots, which is about 2 miles an hour, not much more than 2 miles an hour. When it goes through the gap up at Rathlin Island, inside of Rathlin Island, the water is moving. I think it's 6 knots. So it's about 6 miles an hour.
6 knots.
And
like literally all you got to do is put a rudder in and you're moving.
Yeah. And then down a little bit further, there's Strangford Lough. So it's a sea lock or a sea lake that it has access to the sea. So it washes out into the sea. And we were up there not long ago, and the water that's running through there on spring tides, I think, is 8 knots. Because it's being channeled through a tiny little gap, you get these big tidal streams and overfalls, and there's lots of whirlpools and different things going on. And the same between Rathlin and here. But, when we went up there, we went out fog bound. So we had food before we left. We took an hour to paddle across, an hour and 15 minutes. But we went out in fog. Couldn't see the island until we were maybe, I'd say, 200 yards away from it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was all on.
You have to definitely have your navigation on point.
We planned everything like to within an inch of its life. Then we kayaked around the island. We saw the puffins and we saw gannets, northern gannets. They hit the water at 60 miles an hour and they have a 7-foot wingspan. They're huge. So we went around, we saw them. We paddled all the way around the island. We stopped off for snacks as we were going around, but we continued around because the tidal streams are so dangerous that we have to be everywhere that we thought we would be exactly at the time that we thought we'd be there. And we paddled into the
based
town.
On the tidal.
We had what we were calling UFOs, unidentified fried objects. We don't know whether they were fish in some sort of a chicken batter, or no, we don't know if it was fish that had the texture of chicken, or it was a chicken that was in some sort of a deep fried batter rather than in breadcrumbs. We had no idea what it was we were eating. We were just starving. So we had it anyway. We went with it, but we took off at 6 a.m. and we got back at 6:30 p.m. So we'd done 2 full tidal cycles. It was incredible, but it's a lot of energy. And we're exhausted coming back in, exhausted. And a 3-hour drive home.
Oh, a 3-hour drive home.
Yeah, and I did it on 3 hours of sleep as well, because I'd been at a comedy gig here, and when the comedy gig finished at 10:30 at night, I had to get into the car and drive all the way.
Oh, so you are a comedian?
Oh no, it wasn't my comedy gig. There was a lady named Deirdre O'Kane. Really
you were attending.
Just an attendee.
Yeah. Have you ever done an open mic?
No, and I wouldn't do it. I've emceed a few things.
You won't do it.
I've emceed a couple of things. One of my close friends, Danny O'Brien, is a comedian. He's toured at Billboard. He's done stuff with Billboard and all these people.
Actually, yeah, I think you actually sent me. I've seen some. He's online, right?
Yeah.
I think you sent me his YouTuber.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Whatever.
But he played stuff with Billboard and other stuff. He did a gig for a friend of mine for Chartered Accountants, the Institute of Chartered Accountants, and he was like, "Will you MC and open for me? I just need a couple of lines, just kind of warm me up and stuff, and get the crowd a little bit smiling and laughing before we go." It's like, yeah, great. And I got up. I said some kind of funny little bits and pieces, but it wasn't stand up at all.
Nothing.
I just had a quick chat with them. Let them know what they were expecting. This fella's like Tigger. He bounces around the stage like a crazy thing,
So you didn't get a reaction out of the audience with your material?
Well, yeah, it was just, I literally had a quick chat with them because they kind of knew who I was. Made a joke of the fact that the accountants had spent all of the money on the comedian and had to get a photographer to do
That's a good one.
MC bit for free.
The MC.
Yeah. So I had to MC for free because they given him the whole budget. And they were accountants. And then he got up and he just tore into people and starts making fun of them and having fun, and then goes off telling all of his stories. And he's fantastic. He's really, really, really fantastic. He's a character, but I don't think I'd have it in me to be a stand-up comedian. I know lots of them. I know lots of really successful stand-up comedians. They say it takes 10 years to find your voice as a comedian, to truly find your voice and really get into pace. I'm too old for that crap now, trying to change my career at this stage of my life.
It's like with the photography. I think even for myself, I can take a pretty decent photo and I understand the light, but I don't know. I think I'm still trying to work on my style. We just had a friend of ours post. I don't know if you saw that one where he took a portrait 5 years apart, because the guy wanted an update.
I haven't really been online the last.
I think you liked it. I forgot exactly what I said, but something to the point. I was like, oh my God, this is so freaking amazing. Because the only difference between portrait A and portrait B is the fact that the guy is 5 years older.
Yeah.
And you can see that there's a difference in him. He looks a little different, right? But the style, I don't know how you feel about it. That's what I feel like I still struggle with, right? Because that's one of the things Peter really kind of hammers people on. If you take a picture of 10 different humans, the photo style should be consistent. Obviously, the 10 different humans are going to look different. He's trying to coach us for how to run a headshot business, right? Yeah. I'm still kind of working on that. But the point he's trying to make is that if you really, when people come and hire you, they need to know what they're going to get. And that's why you want to develop your style. Yeah. Is so that you have a consistent style that people know they want. Now, if they come to you and say, well, maybe I could do something different in your personal and hobby photography life, that's something that you do, right? You can address it. But if it's not your style, you're just going to have to say, well, maybe you need to go talk to John, because I think John's going to be more like the kind of photographer you're looking for.
I shot stuff for companies. There was an American company. It's a finance company. And they were opening a Dublin office. One dude in his house, an office, right? And they were like, oh, we need you to shoot at this style. And I shoot with constant light. I shoot with strips, like the flex kits. I shoot with, I have my vibe, my feel,
Right.
Everybody definitely knows my images when they see them. And then they came to me and they're like, we want you to use like off-camera flash here and here, like strobes. And not even strobes, like speedlights. Yeah, I haven't used a speedlight in so long I forgot the word speedlight. I have to get it off you.
Right, exactly. I still have 3 speedlights. I'll be honest with you, I don't know when the last time I pulled them out, because I'm either using constant or I'm using strobe. I have bought some LEDs, but what I really like to have is a flex kit. Yeah, right. It's just so amazing.
They're a game changer.
And I do have some LEDs. But I prefer to shoot with strobes.
Yeah.
That's just
So
me.
I ended up
And I can control it. But I get it. If someone's coming in here saying, "Oh, you need to use speed lights," and you're using constant flux kit, it's like
the samples that they sent me to color them was way off. The backgrounds are inconsistent. You know, they were all shot by somebody completely different, or somebody that was having a bit of a stroke when they were taking the photographs because they were terrible. And then, but you could see that the lighting wasn't great. And then they sent me a diagram of what way they wanted it, because they obviously have offices around the world. And they're like, okay, so this is the prescription for how we shoot these headshots. And then he came to me and he's like, oh, they really want me to get some of them done. I really want you to do it. I was going, this is not my thing at all. I said, I'll shoot them for you considering I know you, but don't tell anybody I got these. Do not tell anybody I got these.
Right, because this is me.
This is like fresh out of the 1980s. Like these are rough. Like, so I shot them, and when I was finished shooting them, I pushed strobes out of the way. Now I didn't even use speed lights. I just used my own. I had strobes in the studio, and I just pushed them off out of the way. I was like, come on, we're shooting them properly. I shot them properly. And I said, you know what? Here. Show them the difference, and then if they want these ones, we can obviously work on and get on them using these ones. Like maybe for the shitty company website or whatever, or in the background somewhere where your internal avatar is to match everybody else. So, but you know, for your own stuff in your own LinkedIn, use one of the good ones. Like, and he totally agreed, and just it made so much sense. And then I shot some stuff.
So what did the company say?
Did they go with they're using my style, but I've never been asked for a diagram or, you know, what to do for them to match them all over the world. They're like, so I shot.
They just need to hire you and have you redo the whole company.
Yeah, everybody, everywhere. And I could send work to everybody else. You know, I could send work to other people who know how to do it. And that happens because I've sent work.
There's crew people all over the world, right?
Like, and I've sent lots of work to other headshot crew photographers because I know that they know what they're doing, or they know how to shoot, and we can all match. Maurice Jagger sent me stuff. I sent stuff to him. Ivan Weiss sent me stuff. Who else? I've had stuff from everywhere. Like, I've had so many people send me work, and I've sent work back to them if I can, you know, when I get something like, we need something shot in the States somewhere. Like, yeah, I know somebody. I always know a guy, you know. Yeah, I always know somebody.
Our girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few girls in the crew too.
Yeah. It's awesome. A lot of incredible photographers out there, and it's great to have that connection where you can just go, do you know what? It's okay. And it would actually gets me work sometimes that the company is like, oh, well, maybe we need to fly you to here, or we need to get, and I'm like, hold on, you know, and they're panicking about budgets and things, or visas. And I'm like, hold on, it's fine. I know somebody who can match what I do, or who can take similar photographs to what I do. Obviously, between me and you and the next guy, there's always going to be some difference. And it's our connection to the person and how we connect with them on a human level.
I would say exactly right. It's more on the expression versus the lighting.
Yeah. So we can pretty much match the lighting, but when it comes down to, it's their empathetic response to us. So it's them feeling us and us feeling them. One of the magical things, I like to show this in talks, is that when you look at a photograph I took, or I look at a photograph you took, we got eyeballs 90 million years ago. So that squishy things like us can look at other squishy things and make sure they don't want to attack us. So if we walk, you were on Grafton Street beside my studio can have 100,000 people on it some days. If you walked up that busy packed street, your brain will scan every single person you walk past to make sure they don't pose a threat to you. Every single person. You look at the shape of their shoulders and the position their head is in, and how fast and how jerky they move. Like, we already know forward facing eyes are a predator because we're the apex. But we look at that and we already understand that, but we look at how fast and how jerky they're moving to make sure they don't pose a threat. And nobody that you walk past at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a busy shopping street in Dublin is going to be, they're not going to stand out. If you see a drunk person or somebody strung out on heroin in the middle of that street at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they're the only person you see and the only person you remember. So what happens is,
that's funny.
Identify that.
You say that. That's funny you say that, because I remember the drunk person at Templar Bar.
Well,
the first night I was in Dublin.
the only person you're going to see in Templar Bar and remember is the sober dude. You're like, what are you doing?
The guy. No, the drunk guy that was tripping over the curb.
Yeah, and you see them because it's
he
so
nearly
different.
cracked his head.
It's so different and so unusual, especially at 1 o'clock on a shopping street, you know, or in a shopping mall.
Yeah, I think it was 1 or 2 a.m. It was super late. Yeah. We were still on U.S. time.
Yeah.
So we were like wide awake.
Yeah. And
I distinctly remember that I almost remember that guy more than the only other thing I do remember is I ordered up a Guinness and they were so busy there. They were just pouring Guinnesses because it takes 2 or 3 minutes to actually have a Guinness ready to serve. So they just had Guinnesses just going, going. And you could get a Guinness in 2 seconds because they had them ready to go.
Yeah. It's not a great sign. Well, it is as well. The flow on the tap has to be very good to make sure that the Guinness is good and cold. Because if you get a warm pint of Guinness, it's awful. It's disgusting. But
no, but they were crowded.
Oh, when they're flying out like that,
very crowded.
You get a lot of condensation on the tap and stuff like that, and you can always tell it's a good pint of Guinness. And if the flow is good, which means that there's condensation on the outside of the tap. We do the same thing with looking at people on the street that we do when we see photographs. The 90 million year old part of your brain who sees a photograph of a person thinks it's an actual person standing in front of you, because for 90 million years it has been. And what happens is when we look at that, we relate to it in the exact same way. So we have an empathetic response. So if you look at a photograph and somebody's smiling and they're happy, you're happy with them because it's an empathetic response. You're being happy with them. If they're crying in the photograph and they're genuinely sad, you will be sad looking at the photograph. And when they're stressed, like we are when we see photographs of ourselves, when you're standing there and your whole body's saying, I don't want to be here. Like, I'm terrified. You're flushed full of cortisol, like the stress hormone. And then when you're standing there looking at the photograph of yourself, every single person on the planet will look at that image and blame one thing on their face they don't like. And it's the same thing in every photograph. And it's always there. And we go straight to that one thing to blame it on making us feel uncomfortable. But what's happened is, and the reason we feel uncomfortable is because the person in the photograph is uncomfortable. And we're just being socially appropriate to that extra human being who's in the room with us. Because technology's new. Cameras are only 200 years old. The glass-based mirror is actually older. The glass-based mirror is 200 years old, and the camera is only 180 years old. The mirror reflex camera. We shouldn't be able to see conflicting reports of what we look like. You in the mirror, when you see the mirror, you think you look like that, but you don't. You're the only person in the world who sees it. So when you see a photograph, it's the wrong way around. And your brain is trying to problem solve and figure out why you don't look like you. And we all pick that thing on our face that we don't like. But what's happening is the person in the photograph is uncomfortable. And when we look at it, we feel uncomfortable for them because we're empathizing with them. The whole thing is that when you see some of my photographs or I see some of your photographs, what happens is when you look at that, you feel, looking at my photographs, exactly how I felt in the room with that person when I took the photograph. You see, I've one of Stuart Samkanje on my website, South African guy with a big top hat, and he's roaring laughing. You know, when people see that photograph, they laugh. I put it up on a screen now, everybody just laughs. They're like, oh my God, that's so cool. All they're doing is empathizing with him because they think he's in the room with them. So you feel how he feels.
Right, laughing.
Yeah. He's happy. You're happy. If he was sad, I have images of a guy named Eric Lawler. He's a comedian and an actor. And we were talking about mental health in the studio and his eyes started to flood. And it was this really, really kind of emotional moment in the studio where we're basically just having this conversation. And in the middle of this conversation, we're talking about mental health, and I took a photograph and it came up. And anytime I've shown it, I was like, how does he feel? And everybody, you can see people kind of tearing up in the room, and they don't know why.
Right.
Because truly,
I'm tearing up now. You describing it to me.
Through the images, we could
through the image in my brain.
Yeah. So you draw that picture in your brain, and that's the thing, is that our brains don't know the difference between actually happening and only thinking about it. You know, if I tell you to open your fridge door, like I want you to walk to your fridge door, your refrigerator, and open it up, and there's a green apple right in front of you. The lights come on, and there's a green apple there, and you do quarts of milk. We do 2 liters. There's a quart of milk on the door. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because your brain is able to figure out, based on memory, your brain has drawn that. It put it in there.
Yeah. Mine's a Granny Smith.
Yeah, you can see this, and you did a Granny Smith. I was thinking like a green, like glow in the dark green, like radioactive green Granny Smith. Like if you sing Happy Birthday to yourself in your head, your brain hears that as if you're actually singing it. Like the auditory complex in your brain hears that as if you're actually singing it. I do it here a lot when I'm doing talks, because on the taxis here, the cabs, we have this big plate that they wear on the door. It's a big sticker on the door. And I've told stories, and you tell stories about a taxi, and you're like, this one taxi, and it's this color, and like the big plate on the door, the big sticker that they have on the door, and everybody's kind of nodding along. And at the end, did you see who here saw the plate on the door? And everybody puts their hand up. Who here heard the accent that the taxi driver had? Who here saw the buses in Dublin on O'Connell Bridge? Who here saw this? And everybody's putting their hand up because your brain actually saw those things, even though you were never there. It didn't happen. It's just in your head. And we do the same thing then when we look at images. We connect to it. We're able to draw people in, and we can use neuroscience basically to hijack people looking at the photographs. We do things all day long we don't realize we do. It's a basic trait. It's things that we just carry with us, right? We do little things that are non-verbals. If I want you to pay attention to me, if I want to tell you I'm paying attention to you and I want you to pay attention to me, I'll drive my head forward.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And because I did it, you did it. So you've driven your head forward and you're paying attention to me, even though I'm not even in the room with you, right? Even today, I had two solicitors or two lawyers in the studio, and I was talking to them. I said, do you know why we tip our heads to the side? So tipping your head to the side is one of the best things that we can do in photographs. If you look at any of my photographs, everybody kind of has their head kicked to the side. We subconsciously favor one side of our face over the other. Tip your head to one side, tip your head to the other side. One side is going to be looser. Yeah, that way is looser for you, right? Because you favor the right side of your face over the left side of your face. So it's like a peacock fanning its feathers out. We all favor one side over the other. We part our hair that way. You just got taller than your hair. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But we are looser one way because we all favor that side of the face, right? So what we're doing is we display that side of the face because we think it's sexier. Years and years ago, hair would have grown really, really long because we didn't have barbers. So it would hang down over one side of the face to draw attention to the other side of the face. Here, it's an expression, but it's a very colloquial expression. We're all trying to get the ride, right? So we're all basically trying to knock boots with somebody else. And what we can do is we can use that, right? So when we know somebody favors their left-sided or right-sided, Peter talks about this all the time. Like, one of the reasons is that we are all trying to be more attractive and we're trying to show off our attractive side. I'm very aware the sun is beating in my window now and I'm getting crazy shadow on my face. Peter would kick my ass for having terrible shadow transitions. So when you cock your head to the side, what happens is you're showing off that side of your face. Now,
I'm just looking at pictures of my wife and I'm noticing that she's always covering her left side.
Yeah. So she's right-sided, so she'll favor the right side of her face.
So every picture.
Yeah.
I mean, I got hundreds.
Yeah.
Every picture.
And we all do it. Every single one of us will do it. We tip our head to the opposite direction to show off the other side of the face when we're learning new information. Like, really? Like, it being inquisitive, we go the other way. But like, I'm left-sided all day long, left-sided. So I tip my head over that way.
It's interesting. My first thought when you're describing that, though, is I think of my dog.
Dogs do the same thing, right? So that's a different thing, though.
I mean, I'm not trying to say that we're dogs or anything, but
that's a different thing, though. So the other reason that we tip our heads to the side is that everything that's vital for survival in our body is protected by bone. Your brain, your heart, your lungs. I just went lungs and heart the wrong way.
All bone.
Your brachial artery, your radial artery, your femoral arteries. Your aorta is the same thickness as your thumb. It comes out the top of your heart and it's attached to your spine the whole way down before it splits into your legs. It's all protected by bone. The only place you're not protected is your jugular vein and carotid artery in your neck. So when you tip your head to the side, it's a non-verbal to say, I trust you to not attack my most vulnerable point, and I'm telling you I won't attack you. That's why we tip our heads to the side. And when we do it in photographs, what does it do? It does is the exact same thing. So when somebody looks at the photograph, and so we're all about the jawline.
I'm tipped to the side like this, or
So but tipping, like, when we kind of tip our heads from side to side, we bob to side, and we're talking to people. That's us telling them, I trust you to not attack my most vulnerable point. And you're telling them, I understand that you're not going to attack me as well because I'm displaying this. We do it, and we do it to like prolific level. So we do it crazy levels because we're always doing it. We just don't know we're doing it. So if we do that in photographs, so we're all with the jawline. Drive your head forward, make sure we can see your jawline. If you bring your nose down with it, if your head is up here like this, you're showing off your nostrils. When you tip your head back, you relax your intercostal muscles, the delicious part of the ribs, unless you're a vegan. But with your head back, you're opening your airway like a bendy straw for fight or flight to try and get out of there or to fight. So you're going to make a decision on that. And you usually just stand there and suffer because it's photographs. But when you bring your head forward and bring your nose down, it's saying, I'm paying attention to you, please pay attention to me. So anybody looking at the photograph will do the exact same thing. They'll drive their head forward and they'll pay attention and not know why they're doing it. And then when you cock your head to the side slightly, what happens is it opens up your most vulnerable point. and it brings them in because it's saying to them, you can trust me and I can trust you.
Well, I trust you.
Yeah.
I guess it's saying I trust you.
Yeah.
So
I trust
because
you,
I
and I
trust
want
you,
you to
they're
trust me
inherently
back.
going to have, what do you call it? You said it empathetic or sympathetic?
Yeah, it's an empathetic response. Yeah.
Empathetic response would be, oh, they trust me, so I guess I'm going to trust them.
Yeah, and they don't even know they're doing it. So we can, I guess, hijack is a strong word, but influence people looking at the photograph to do exactly what we want them to do. You know, if you're an actor and you have your headshot in with a load of other actors for headshots, like for some casting, and they're flicking through, and everybody has this androgynous dead look on their face, and then all of a sudden this one image is slightly different because the head is forward. You're kind of cocking your head over this way, just a slight bit. It will make them pause.
Yeah, we're talking millimeters, right, John? We're not talking large.
Millimeters.
Just literally millimeters.
And everything is micro expression. Like micro expression.
Because the brain picks up, I mean, we're talking like this. Maybe smaller. It doesn't, you don't have to be like this.
There's the University of Minnesota did a study in 2017, and they figured out a couple of huge things. One is that we have 16,384 different musculature variations in our faces, and we do 35 facial expressions every day, and 19 of them are smiles.
19 different smiles.
Yeah. And they mean different things. This is going to melt your face off, right? So this is going to be back to front and all sorts of things. But if a baby's crying, right, they do this, and the parent will go over and say, oh, what's wrong? You move the same muscles in the same way to tell them I understand what's happening. And then what you do is the Joey from Friends smile, the dominant smile. The how are you doing, right? You squeeze the right eye and you squeeze the right side of your mouth and you say, it's okay, I'm here.
Yeah, but I got paralysis, so I always do
now. On the other side,
this side, right? My left is paralysis, and so I got a crooked smile.
People think that they have a crooked smile, right? So when you do this on the right side,
well, I know I do because I had paralysis.
Right, so
it's hard to I got to really work that left side.
Yeah, but everybody does it to a point, and we're all going to do it on one side or the other, right? So it's always kind of like this, and people do it in photographs, and then they think they look like they're having a stroke on the far side of their face, right? Now, if we do it on the left side of the face, anything on the right side of the face is an external communication. We do it to other people. Anything on the left side of the face is internal. Now, when you realize something, somebody tells you, you're like, oh yeah, that lives on the left side of your face. So that's happening on the left side of our face. So we're talking to ourselves, and we see people all the time in photographs, and they'll do it on one side or the other. One of the girls in the studio today, and she was pulling on the left side of her face until I pointed it out, and I was like, this is why you were doing that. She's like, oh my God. Like, light bulb moment. I've always done it. I know everybody does it. I have a guy in one of my books, Squinch book, Gary Talbot model. He was discovered on Grafton Street here by Tyson Beckford. Went up and asked him for a selfie, and Tyson was like, are you a model? He was like, no. He said, do you want to be? Tyson was like, yeah. And he was earning €12,000 a week walking runways all over the world within months. And he came into the studio and said, I had Bell's palsy when I was 12 and I still see a deficit on the left side of my face. What he was doing was the Joey from Friends smile, the dominant smile on this side of the face. And that was frozen. And now this side isn't doing anything. So he's active. People think they have an eye difference or they have a mouth difference, a smile difference. And a lot of the time, all it is a disingenuous smile. A genuine smile comes from emotional release. When you're happy, every single cell in your whole body's happy at the exact same time because you're flushed full of endorphins. When you're sad, every single cell in your body is flushed full of cortisol and other chemicals. When you're stressed, you're flush full of cortisol. You're making yourself smaller. And then what we do is we stand in front of the camera and think, I need to smile his mouth, I'll move my mouth, and then we go. And you look like you sniff the seats on buses when strangers get up. It's so strange, right? And then we feel really uncomfortable looking at it, and then we need a reason that we feel uncomfortable. So the
reason why you're comfortable is the eyes don't match the mouth.
Exactly. The whole lot, like nothing matches. The body language is saying, I don't want to be here. Your head is up here, so we're looking straight up your nostrils. That's the dentist's view. Nobody needs it. And then when your head is back here like this, then you're thinking, I need to smile. And you do this, or you pull on the right side, or you pull on the left side. So everybody does it. And when the expression is disingenuous, it's always going to feel wrong. Always going to feel wrong. If it comes from practice, it always feels wrong. You'll know it because you were there. At Christchurch, just across from Christchurch, I don't know if I pointed it out to you. There's a takeaway fish and chips place called Burdock's. It's very famous. And right in front of it, there's the Smiles Clinic. It's not, the Smiles is a brand here of clinic, but dentistry clinic. It's not a Smiles brand. It's a different cosmetic dentistry clinic. And there's a girl in the image on the window. She's beautiful, but she's smiling like a hostage. I posted when I saw it one day. I went to the studio. I took a camera. I went back around and took a photograph of it, and I posted it on my Instagram. You know the way you can post it behind you and you can talk over the front of it? I posted it up and I said, that is the smile that you do when your mother makes cake in the microwave. It tastes like the color gray and you still have to say it's nice. Oh, it's lovely. Yeah. Like everybody knows going to the dentist is uncomfortable anyway. Like, don't stick it in the window as an advertisement. Like, she looked like a hostage. It's awful. But it would be a great photograph if she was squeezing her lower eyelids or if she was genuinely happy. All it takes is a photographer to crack a joke and to shoot through that smile. Like, the most basic thing is a human connection.
But I'm not funny, John. How do I get to become funny?
Just be like one of those sad clowns who are just hilarious. Do you remember there was a guy on America's Got Talent years ago and he came out and he was just this depressed clown and he was hilarious.
Maybe
you can just walk in and just do what I do. Say inappropriate crap.
Yeah, I do that. I do that a lot. That usually works. Yeah. I usually can get a genuine smile from that.
Yeah.
The thing that I do also is that sometimes people get aggravated with me. That was a question I wanted to ask you is, how long does it take you to get started
with people
when you have a person in your studio?
It depends on the person. So normally bring them in, offer them a bottle of water, whatever, and just have a general chit chat with them, a really quick chit chat. Where are you from? It's great in Ireland because everybody knows everybody. This 6 degrees of separation thing just doesn't exist in Ireland. We don't so much have a family tree as a REIT. Everybody's connected in some way. And, Ireland is one big incest fest. So everybody knows everybody. But people, I told you I have issues. But, people come in and I'll have a really quick chat with them. It depends on where they come from or how nervous you can say they are. So it gives them a little bit of breathing going.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I would say somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes.
Yeah,
and
usually
some people are like, "Are we going to get started?" And I'm like, "Well, we're actually already started."
Yeah.
And what I actually try to do is to try to get them to, because some people are concerned about, how many pictures am I going to get? Or I go, look, the clock doesn't start ticking until I take the first photo. Yeah. So don't worry about the clock. I try to get them, because a lot of people, they get. I don't know. I don't know what your fees are, but mine are not cheap. I'm not going to lie to you, because it's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. And so I'm sympathetic. I guess, is it sympathetic or empathetic? I never get those two right. But to the fact that these people are laying down some cash.
Yeah. Sympathy is feeling, is understanding their feeling, but, and empathy is actually feeling what they feel. So that's.
Well, so I have sympathy because I'm not really feeling it.
Yeah, I know. So I know how they feel. Sympathy, but I don't care as long as they pay me. I know.
No, it's not that.
I know you're not like that. I know you're not like that.
But the point is that as an example, that's one of the things that I do to try to, like, let's take that off the table, because they're like, oh, is my clock already started here? And we're just sitting around chit chat and I'm paying for this. Like, oh no, you're not paying for any of this. This is just to get you ready. We'll start the clock when I start taking the picture. And usually because, there's all the little tricks and what I like to do. And sometimes I feel like it's part of, convincing them that, they're already there and they're somewhat convinced that you have the skills, but there's nothing like proof in the pudding. Right. Yeah. So I don't know who I got this off of. It was probably when I was at one of the events, but I'll just say, just stand there and I'm going to take your photo. Just stand out like you normally would stand. And then I give them a little bit of coaching.
Yeah.
And then we take another picture and they get to see the difference and they're like, oh my God. And now you got them paying attention to what you're saying. Now, finally. And now they's like, oh my God, there's, cause they're sitting there and they're like this, or they're like this. And you're getting them zero coaching. They're just standing and they got the crazy hostage smile with the wide open eyes. Yeah. And then you give them just a little bit of coaching, literally 60 seconds of coaching. And it's like, it's night and freaking day. And then now to me, that really drops their guard a little bit. Right. So we took, they're concerned about the money and the clock ticking. So we take that off the table. I don't know about you. I don't actually run it. I have times on my freaking calendar because if you're booking times, you got to put a time limit on it. But I just let people know, I go, I've shot with professional actors. After 2 hours, even professionals, they can go all day because they are professional, but they're going to have a break.
Yeah.
They can't go 8 hours straight.
Yeah.
It's just not because you start seeing the fatigue in their face.
Yeah.
I just let them know. I go, you're not going to go past 2 hours. I mean, you're not going to do it, you know, and I don't think we need 2 hours, but I just I try to let's get as much off the table and the concerns and the stress that you can.
Yeah. I'd let them know, you know, you're not in school. This is not detention. You can leave whenever you need to, you know, but
right.
A lot of the time,
do you shoot with a monitor too? I like shooting with a monitor.
Yeah, I tether into Capture One and I show them through the screen.